Okay, here's the end goal in what we're about to create. We've got a basic backbeat going on there and a bit of a variation. Then 3 more bars of the backbeat and a more elaborate fill. Okay, so to start our project, let's do File, New Live Set, or Control N, and that will give you a totally fresh live set to work with. Now we're going to switch over from this session view into the arrangement view, either by clicking these buttons in the top right, or we're going to use the tab key. I'm also going to close this little window. I don't need that help window open today. Okay, so here I am in the arrangement view. You can see I have 2 MIDI tracks and 2 audio tracks, but I'm going to click on the colored section of the second MIDI track and hit delete 3 times, just leaving 1 MIDI track to work with today. Okay, now what I want to do is, currently we have bar 1 through to bar 77 visible. I'd like to zoom in, so we've got about, let's say 2 bars visible. So if I bring it all the way in, you see those bar numbers. We now have, bar 1 to bar 15. I want this number 3 to be on the right, so I'm going to squeeze it in even more. And you suddenly see the beats appearing as well. We now see bar 1, 1.2, 1.3. That's when suddenly the beats are also given little numbers there. That's where bar 3 would be. That's zoomed in enough for me right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight 1 bar. I'm going to right click and choose to loop that selection. Control L is the hotkey for that. Now that little loop there is going to loop that 1 bar of our project. But since our project has nothing in it, that's just looping 1 bar of silence. You see it counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the next step is, today, rather than using audio one-shots to create our beat, we're actually going to use MIDI instruments, a MIDI drum rack in fact. So I'm going to go up to Create, and since I have 1 bar highlighted, I can do Create a MIDI clip, Insert MIDI clip, and that has now created an empty MIDI clip that goes for 1 bar. I can hit play and nothing will play, as there's actually no MIDI notes triggering, and in fact there's no device on this track. So even if I put some MIDI notes around the place, you won't hear anything because those MIDI messages are not actually triggering any sounds. So the next step would be actually to set up a device on this track. So I'm going to come across to my browser area. I'm going to head to the drums category, and there's a lot of drum rack presets here. I like this core kit. I'm actually going to drag that on to my MIDI track 1. And you'll see it load for a second. And now it shows me that there is a device loaded onto track 1. There's 16 different sounds that I can listen to. And these sounds will correspond and be triggered by certain MIDI notes. Now, if we can actually switch back to our MIDI note editor by double-clicking on the clip, or switch back to the device by double-clicking over on this colored area, we can switch back and forth like that. Or there's actually a little thing down the bottom here that can move between our track view and our clip view. Let's leave it here in the clip view, and notice that now you can actually see 16 different names of types of drums that correlate with the 16 different sounds loaded on this 808 core kit preset. So now if we were to actually add some sounds, which we'll do, we're going to zoom in onto our MIDI editor. I could add a kick drum here. Suddenly you might hear that. Okay, now you'll see here that we have a whole lot of grids on this area. This is quite confusing. If I was to change into the draw mode by pressing B or using this pencil up the top right, then I could actually draw in a whole lot of closed hi-hats across there. And let's have a listen to this. Now hear how quick they are. There's actually 64 of those within that 1 bar of music, which is way too quick for what we want to do. So I'm going to press B to get out of draw mode, and I can highlight all those hi-hats and hit delete. What we're going to do for our backbeat is we only need an eighth note beat resolution. So I'm actually going to right click and change my grid to eighth notes. And then I can actually get my pencil tool back with B, and then I can just single click or drag across the hi-hats. And instead of drawing 64 closed hi-hats, because it's divided our bar into 1/8, that now gives me quavers. Let's have a listen. Okay, so we've got 1 bar of quavers of hi-hats. I even went too far there. Okay, I'm going to get out of draw mode with B. What I'm actually going to do is change our last one, which is on the and of 4, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'm going to drag that up to the open hi-hat slot and listen to the difference. All right, see if you can create that. We've gone into the 8th. We've changed our grid to 8th notes. We've drawn closed hi-hats and then moved one up to the 8th note. I could have just drawn it there to start with. By the way, if you don't have the pencil tool, you have to double click to get notes to appear in here. If you have the pencil tool, you can just single click to remove or add notes. Okay, great. We've got our hi-hat. Next, we want to add our kick drum on beats 1 and 3. Now, 1's easy to find. Where would beat 3 be? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it actually is shown here. 1.3 means bar 1, third beat. And you'll actually see there's other numbers, 1.3.2 and so on, refers to the 16th notes or semiquavers. So I'm just looking for 1.3 and I'm putting my second kick drum. Have a listen. Now a backbeat needs a snare on 2 and 4. There it is. So at this point, I'm actually going to rename my MIDI clip and I'm going to call it backbeat. So I've right clicked on that there on the title bar and I'm going to type in backbeat. Okay, great. So now that we've got a really cool 1 bar drum loop, it loops quite well. I'm actually going to stretch it out a bit longer. And today we're going to work on an 8 bar section of our song. So what I'm going to do is grab the right hand edge of this zooming area. I'm going to drag it out until we can see bar 9 appear on the right. And that means we've got 8 whole bars of music to work with. What I'm going to do is drag my backbeat out to the end of the 4th bar or the start of the 5th bar. You see these little divots. This tiny little notch there shows that it's actually looped. So if I was to actually change my backbeat, like to put a symbol on beat 1, you'll see that appear, those changes appearing in those looped copies that are right there. So keep that in mind. Let's have a listen. What have we got? Now, because our loop section is set to 1 bar, it didn't actually keep going. I'm going to change the loop section by dragging it over and make it a 4 bar loop. Okay, what I want to do here is create a variation in the 4th bar. But as I just showed you, if I was to create a variation in the 4th bar, it will actually create it in the 1st bar there as well, and 2nd and 3rd. So I want to click here at the start of the 4th bar on my MIDI clip and right click, and then I actually want to choose split. And now you'll see I've got a 3 bar MIDI clip and a 1 bar MIDI clip. Now I'm actually going to change the color on this because I'm going to do a variation. So I'm just going to slightly tweak it to a similar but different shade of that color. That way, if I'm actually editing my project, I can sort of see there's a variation there. I'm even going to rename it. It's going to be a slight variation. I'm just going to call it Backbeat Plus. And let's have a listen to a 2 bar loop and figure out what I want to happen here. In this 4th bar, let's add an extra kick and an extra snare. Can you hear that variation happening? Awesome. So I'm pretty happy with that. What we want to do now is highlight all of that, and I can hold Control and drag it, and that will create a copy. And I'll paste that right next to it from bar 5 to 9. Okay, so with this variation, I'm actually going to do more of a complex fill. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to rename it to Backbeat Fill. And I think a color change would be good too. Something slightly different. Let's go more of a blue this time. and we can really see a difference there. And I'm actually going to get a bit fancy and change my grid to 16th notes by right-clicking and choosing 16ths. Now you'll see there are actually quicker subdivisions available to me. And what I'm going to do, I'll do a 2-bar loop over there. I can drag that over, or I could actually highlight 2 bars and right-click and choose to set the MIDI loop to that. Okay, so it's already set to that. I'm going to hit play. And what I want to do in that variation bar is I'm going to add in some toms. So I reckon I'll put a bit of a low tom here. Let's hit play. What about that? Cool, I like that. You could explore changing the sounds around to different sounds, having a different rhythm to what I've done, but if you like what I did, you might like to try just changing that. So far, if I turn off looping and hit stop a few times, that'll rewind. Let's hear our whole 8-bar project. Awesome. I might then say, hey, I like all of that. I'm going to grab those 4 bars back there. By the way, to get across, I'm holding shift and using my mouse wheel, and that can go left and right. That helps me easily select those 4 bars and copy them. I can paste them there. I actually want to have a cymbal strike on beat 1 here, but what happens if I put it there? It's going to add it to every bar of that section. I don't want the cymbal over here, so I'm going to split that and then just get rid of the cymbal from that one. And then you hear after our fill, we have that cymbal on beat 1. Okay, so those kind of things you might want to do. I probably want to actually have, rather than my blue variation, I may want to have my slight variation here, so I could just delete that, drag that one across, and then perhaps, grab those bars. So that's the start of my track anyway. What I might want to do is add some extra cowbells and things like that, but to easily volume control them and deal with them, I think I'll actually put them on a second track here. So I could actually grab the same kind of kit and drag it into the space, and now I have a second 808 core kit. Now, to create a MIDI clip, you might recall we need to highlight a certain area of time and go create MIDI clip. I've done a 1-bar loop, and you can actually adjust that by dragging the top area. If I wanted to change it to a 2-bar loop, I could actually drag that out until it is 2 bars long. And you should hopefully then, if you drag this square bit out, you'll see that little divot, that little notch shows that it loops every 2 bars rather than every 1 bar. So I'm going to work with a 2-bar cowbell pattern. I don't need 30-second notes. I'm going to right click and adjust to be 16th notes. And I reckon what we'll do is set a 2-bar loop and turn looping back on, hit play, and just get creative with putting some cowbells in. I'm going to put my pencil tool on with B. Cool, so it might be something like that. And you might say, hey, I actually want that to be a little quieter. So I just mix it down, 5 decibels down. You might also say, hey, I actually want that to be just on the left side in my left ear. So I'm going to actually bring it over to the left, all the way in fact. Hard panned. You might say, no, not hard pan, let's go about 30. Okay, so that cowbell's now in my left ear, more so than my right. You might say, hey, I could add some more percussion on that same drum rack, or it might actually be easier for me to put it on a new track. So let's for now just stick with that core kit. But note this, if I actually change, drag another device over the top of this core kit, you should actually hear a change in what sort of sound is triggered by these MIDI notes. So that's now loaded. Let's have a look at my MIDI clip here. It's actually moved it to a crash symbol there. Have a listen. And I'd have to just drag all those down to where it says cowbell. Now there's... And what does the low one sound like? Now what if I move two of them up to the high one? I might go actually to the last one. Or, you know, move a few of them up to the high one. Up to you. Yeah, I don't really like that, but you know, you can get creative with that. And basically, once you've got MIDI information, you can actually change the sound. You can change it to a different device or different instrument, and those MIDI notes will trigger different sounds. Let's leave that cowbell like that, and actually we're going to try, have we got congas on this? We do. What do they sound like? All right, those congas sound pretty cool. This is the 505 Classic Kit. I'm going to drag that down to a new track. And then I'm going to create a 2-bar MIDI loop. Create, insert MIDI clip. I might just adjust the zoom there so I can see it a bit better. Okay, and now I'm working in this conga area. I'm going to use the classic congas here. I reckon semiquavers, 16th notes is a good resolution. I haven't pre-planned anything. At this point, you might want to get your keyboard working and try and figure out something like that. But you could just hit play and get creative. Kind of like that. And then we might go, I could actually copy that, hold control, drag it to my second bar. And add some extra things in. Kind of cool, a bit syncopated. And things you can also do is adjust the velocity or volume of different notes. So I might decide to have certain notes less in order to make other notes stick out more. So that kind of thing, a few ghost notes here and there could be pretty cool. And another thing you might do is say, hey, I want those congas to actually appear more in the right ear, and I'd like a bit of reverb on my percussion. So that would be this first send there. I'll just solo it. See, way too much reverb. It's kind of cool, isn't it? A bit of reverb on the cowbell. Too much reverb. Pretty subtle reverb. And then I might say, hey, I'm going to stretch that now so those two things loop. Will it do both at once? Yes, it will, because I highlighted both. And I might say, yeah, actually, that can come in all the way back at bar 5. So now my whole project sounds like this. Tell you what, let's save those congas till bar 9. I might just lower the volume of the congas slightly. Just a little bit. Oh, I've got loop on. I'm going to turn loop off. Cool. So that's what I've done so far. you can see how I then save it. In fact, that was quite just by habit. I pressed Control S then, because once I've achieved something, I like to hit Control S and just make sure I've saved my progress. So I would ask you guys to save that and upload that to Sector as part of your portfolio of evidence. And as I said, you can either copy exactly what I've done, or you can just put your own spin on it. You could have different sounds. You might have slightly different patterns. So let's see what you create.